welcome back to another episode of the Chief Lego Fanatic. I cannot express how excited I am about finally getting this set after hearing rumors about it for months, and then it sold out immediately as soon as it went live on the Lego store. We have the HMS Titanic.
Everything is awesome.
All right, so we have HMS Titanic, set number 10294. It's 9,090 pieces. It's rated 18 plus. For dimensions, when it's completed, it's 5 feet and some change long. I'm ready to get this box open. Let's go. This is my awesome middle daughter, Ina. All right, so it's not at all surprising, given that the ship breaks into 3 pieces, that the set is separated into 3 different boxes. Each box appearing like it contains one section of the ship. So the forward, the center, and then the aft section. Let's put boxes 2 and 3 away and get box 1 open. All right, so we got box number 1 open. Looks like we have 12 sets of bags for this set, or for this section, and of course 3 of these things. Not sure where they go. I assume it's going to be part of the mast section. And then of course we have a couple of decals. Decals are pretty much just the British and American flags. See there? Focus. So nothing huge, and it looks more like they're not really decals because they have these little holes in them. I'm not sure if I can get the camera to actually focus on. So they're actually flags. So it looks like you just put the flag staff through the holes, and then you're able to fly them. And of course you have the instruction booklet. This set, one of the things that Lego has been doing very recently that I really like is they have cardboard boxes to actually put the instructions in, so to help maintain the instructions so they don't get destroyed. And as you see, Titanic, book number 1, the very back, you have a nice little inventory of all the pieces. Looks like one of the last things you build is the actual stand for this section to sit on. Yep, panels, a lot of Technic pieces. These are actually mostly regular Lego pieces. The interior is more the Technic side. Building the upper decks, building the smokestack. More of the upper decks, you can see a lot of the Technic pieces. And it's actually showing some of the interior. It's not quite as detailed as this second and third section. And you can kind of see the boilers here for the engines. If anybody wants to, I can go into great detail about how steam engines work. Let's see, what else do we have? Yep, this is more like the back section of the forward section. Here's where you're actually building the wow, can't believe I messed that up. The bow, as well as the forecastle section, or forecastle, depending upon how much of a stickler for naval terminology you want to be. I'm in the Navy, so I kind of have to be a stickler for naval terminology. So it's forecastle, even though it's spelled forecastle. All right, and then of course we have a little bit of history of the HMS or RMS Titanic. A picture of it leaving from Southampton, England, on its maiden and also final voyage. A little bit about the news articles that came out advertising the tickets, how it was a triple screw liner, by a single or double screw, and then of course it shows sections 1 through 4 are the very front end of the bow, 5 through 7 are the middle section, and then 10 through 12 kind of brings it all together and builds the upper decks and the smokestack. So, and then of course it gives a little bit of information about what it says called section number 1. All right, let's get going.
All right, so I shifted the camera a little bit so that you can actually see. Unfortunately, that's going to come back to haunt me towards the end of this video because the camera is going to decide to rotate itself. But starting with the base of the bow section of the ship, there's not as many Technic pieces as I thought there was going to be. Usually larger sets like this, they use Technic for a lot of the interior structure to hold it together. This actually mostly uses regular Lego bricks, so it's kind of surprising. Pretty much just building it from the ground or waterline up. Lego did a really good job choosing the types of bricks to use for these. The shape of the bow actually comes together really well, and then the actual building of the hull of the ship. Slowly it's just, like I said, building from the ground up. So you saw it had the first layer, and then you start adding a second layer to build it up a little bit. Eventually you build it up enough to where you actually start building the deck. One kind of odd thing that I'm not really sure why they did it, but I mean they could do it to try to use pieces. You can see some yellow and blue pieces in there. Obviously those are not going to be seen from the outside. For the most part, the set is a red, black, and white. But they have these colored pieces in there for whatever reason. I assume so they could just use extra pieces or not make it so monochromatic. Again, building it up, getting close to actually adding the decking sections. You see the white and the black there. That's going to start adding basically the portholes on the sides of the ship. As you can see, Lego actually did a really cool idea with how to make all the portholes relatively similar size as compared to the size of the ship. It only uses like 3 pieces to make a dual set of portholes. Now we're just going to start making the actual deck section. It has some pretty decent amount of detail aside from the deck itself. It shows where the cargo can get lowered down into. It shows the cranes that would actually be lowering the cargo down. And again, you see some yellow in there. Not something you're going to see from the outside. It's used on some of the internal sections. It's actually, each individual section went relatively quickly. So this is the first subsection of the overall first third of the ship or so. It actually went by relatively quickly. Like this is building up the guardrails for each side. Eventually add on those two pieces. I wasn't sure what they were for. It turns out they were part of the guardrail. Right now we're building up the first crane. Some more detail sections. I think it's another crane. I believe there's 3 in the very bow of the ship. And then building the first section of mast. Not that it actually has sails. And then it has a string that goes from the very front of the bow up to the top of the mast. That's it. Come back to the next day to start the second subsection. As you can tell, it's a little chilly. I think it's like 30 degrees outside. The garage obviously not fully insulated. Make sure I had a wear jacket. It was cold. Again, starting the second subsection from the ground up, or waterline up. As you see, I'm building the 4 boilers there. They actually did a pretty decent job of showing detail for the engines and whatnot throughout the entire set, not just the section. So you build the bottom layer, and then some more yellow pieces for whatever reason, and then you start building it up. That finishes the first layer, now you start adding the second layer. The second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth layers are mostly going to be the internal passageways. So they take a little bit longer. They have a lot more smaller pieces because you're showing a lot more smaller detail. As I flipped around because I tried to figure out what I was doing. There's a couple pieces that had shown up that I weren't expecting. Part of what's going to come up in this section is the bridge of the ship. I talked about it at the end of the video, but there's a pretty decent amount of detail that goes into the bridge. And you can see the camera's already starting to swivel for whatever reason. I don't think I'm bumping the table. I don't really know why it started rotating. Actually, I think I had my phone plugged up and that was the reason. The cord on it was pulling it, causing it to rotate. After this little last chunk of video, I think I fixed that. I'm going to stop doing it because now it's going to do it really bad here towards the end of this section. Yep, so we're finishing up the second subsection, getting to where we're actually going to start working on the deck and the bridge parts of it. Again, the Lego went into a lot of detail with these. This is actually adding the side portholes as well as the actual walkways. I'm sure you've seen at some point video of the Titanic. It shows the white colonnades, for a lack of a better term, showing where people walk along. If you saw the Titanic movie, it's where the people are walking when the iceberg hits it. Yep, adding detail to the sides, building up the deck some more. The camera's really going to start rotating here now. You see most of the rest of my garage. Eventually I'll get to where I do videos for all the rest of the sets that are back there, but I have too many new sets to do before I get to those. I'm about out of space. I don't know where I'm even going to put the Titanic. Yep, so you can see the walkways there. It's building it up some more, and on top of that is where the decking and the smokestack and the bridge are going to go. Unfortunately, a lot of that's about to go out of sight. So this is at about 20 times speed, so it's actually, the camera's moving much more slowly, so hopefully you can understand why I didn't realize that the camera was moving. You can see the interior corridors there on that section, or that side of the ship. Yep, putting in the last bits of detail, and then the last little bit that's gonna go out of frame is building the smokestack and then putting the two sections together. Yep, that's it. So I finished the first section. This section took about 4 hours. It is not quick. It's a whole lot of pieces, a whole lot of very tiny pieces. Haven't quite got the bow situated the way it needs to be, but it'll get there. A couple of neat details. I'll move this closer so you can actually see the details. The stand does actually connect to it, so it makes it a lot easier. You have the different cranes and whatnot. So you have this crane, and then you have two cranes here for unloading and offloading cargo. It does actually have the hatches here on the deck for the cargo itself. However, the thing that made me geek out, as you know, having been in the Navy for the last 16 years or so, are these two. So on this side there's a little red piece, and on this side there's a little green piece. This might not seem significant to most people, but for a ship, it has green lights on its starboard side, or the right side facing forward, and red lights on the port side, or the left side if you're facing forward. This is to, one, for other ships to identify which side of the ship that they're approaching, whether it be the starboard side or the port side, and also can tell ships at night what direction you are traveling. So to me, that's a really awesome detail. And I'll go into a lot more details in the actual review video, because I think this is going to be a really awesome set when it's actually all together. I'm glad that I have such a big table, because if I didn't, I would not have nearly enough space to actually put this thing together all at once. And then on the back side of this,
It does have some of the interior detailing. Haven't quite got everything situated apparently. It does have some of the interior detailing, so you can see the steam engines at the bottom. You can see the different hallways, and it's got little door pieces that actually show where the passageways are. So I am super excited. I was excited about it when I started this set, and I just got more excited as I went through. Anyways, this is the end of part 1. Like I said, this took me about 4 hours, but I think if I tried to do all 3 sets, or all 3 sections in one video, the video would be way too long. And I don't feel like stopping in the middle of the second section would be very useful. So, I will see you guys next time. Again, I'm super excited to get the second box broken open and see what's inside. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, so on and so forth, so that I can continue making these videos for your enjoyment and my enjoyment, because I'm getting to where I enjoy doing this. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.